Hi everyone, welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Rahul Pillai, who is the founder of HSS IPL, which stands for Hybrid Shifting Solutions India Private Limited. Hi Rahul, welcome to ELI.
Hi, Priya, thank you so much for inviting me.
Rahul, I would request you to introduce yourself to our audience and tell us a bit about your pre-entrepreneurial journey, like where were you born and brought up, where did you study, which all companies did you work for, and how was your experience before starting HSS IPL?
So Priya, I was brought up in Delhi, uh, and my initial education was in Delhi. I happen to be from Kerala, so mid between my education, I actually moved back to Kerala along with my parents, and then completed my education from south of India. So I'm a postgraduate in business administration from Bharatiya University. And thereafter got an opportunity to work for Eli Lilly, which is a pharma major, and that's my first exposure per se to the corporate world. But I think I wasn't so excited, though the company was very exciting with my role, and I felt it was more to follow a set pattern, and that's when I moved out without anything on hand, and got into an organization which was we just started off the document management service way back in 1998, which we call it as records management. Sounded very exciting, as a product which was very new in India, and joined them and did work for them. That's by the name of Writer Records Management, and they're one of the big players in document and services. And post that joined. So my moving experience that's started off in 1999 with a company called Crown Relocations and Crown Worldwide. At that time, it used to be called Crown Worldwide, which is a global leader in relocation services. And that's where I got the exposure to the moving part of the business. Again, I think most of these organizations being highly structured, you at times people like me found it very difficult to breathe, and I think that's primarily the reason why I said, okay, let's look at an organization where you could be, creating something and building a brand. And that's when I moved into Interim, which was at that time a very small outfit. And this is way back in 2001, Jan of 2001. And we had to get up in India from the initial scratch. And that was very exciting. And thereon, I think it was even very rewarding. So my stint there. So if I look at my initial career, I had almost 3 companies in a span of 4 years, and then Interim was close to 22 years.
Wow.
So that's where I actually built my career, learned a lot, experimented a lot, and from almost an unknown entity what we were at that time in 2001 to one of the reasonably decent brands in India and overseas. So in the relocation space. So that's what my journey was. So been contemplating of doing something exponentially in size and scale. But as you know that when your organization or the holding company has different interest and not their main interest is not the real business, the focus really doesn't come on to the business, right? So we almost were looking at becoming a boutique moving company, and that didn't match with my aspirations of taking the organization to the next level. So without really having any kind of challenges, where I think I could have retired because after spending 22 years, you typically could end up retiring.
Yeah.
I chose to exit after 22 years without anything in hand again. Just decided to quit one day and I moved back to Kerala. And so I had a stint in Interim managing the complete Middle East and India business and the global operations of Interim.
Mhm.
But then one fine day, I think that was no more exciting, and I said, it's good to go back and then decide what you want to do in life. And while in Kerala, with quite a few offers coming my way, some job opportunities and some investment opportunities, I actually chose to pick up what I have picked up today because this
Mhm.
was very close to my heart. So this was something I actually had initiated in 2017 with my then organization, but somehow there were no takers at that time.
Mhm.
I'm glad that my investors in Transworld believed in that thought, and here we are talking to you today. So that's how Hybrid Shifting Solutions was born, and the concept was bought by investors, and they felt yes, there is a lot of opportunity and there's a lot of scope. One to give offer customers some solutions which they have not been getting in this market, not do exactly the same what we were doing for the last 25 years.
Mhm.
And keeping in mind that the Indian market was booming, I think it was an absolute opportunity to lead it. So that's how hybrid was, came into place. So that's my personal and my professional journey.
Got it. Uh, can you tell us a bit about the market, like packing and moving, shifting? It's a business that has been there for a long time, probably hundreds of years back. It was there. But
Great.
what is the underlying problem that is not solved even with all the traditional businesses? What is it that you are trying to solve?
Uh, right. So what you said is absolutely right. Packing and moving goes, way back. Somebody would have been packing with jute strings and jute bags. Somebody would have done something else, and it's something very common for maybe 100 years or maybe 1,000 years. There is something that moved. Then also needed some kind of a packaging. It could be anything. Uh, However, what we noticed, and I think my experience, so I'm in this industry. I got into this industry not by design. It's by chance,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the reason to stay back with this industry was because none of the scenarios are the same on the same day. So you could be a different customer, a corporate could be very different, requirements are very different, and that's very exciting. Your challenges are very different, and that's how I got into this industry and then loved it and wanted to be with it. And I also realized the gaps that were there in this whole journey. So if we look at from an Indian perspective, the biggest challenge today that you get is that this industry is not classified really as a exclusive industry. It forms under the logistics industry per se, or a supply chain industry, which itself is very loosely held. Packing and moving in India is more than a 16,000 crore business.
Wow.
Most of that business is being done in the organized market, sorry, unorganized market. And now, if you look at it, you can count the proper professional moving companies in both your hands, and that might be the number that most of them will have, who primarily have their own pockets of influence and carry that business. Rest everybody, if the place where you would live, you could find a packer and mover who says he's a packing and moving specialist. Uh,
Mhm.
and and I think a lot of people choose that without realizing that this is one business wherein you actually give away your own things to an
Mm.
unknown person who has no antecedents, who has no control. You don't know where his office is. You don't know what he does, how he does. You just give that to him on the basis of thinking that he said he is a packing and moving specialist. So just for an example, if you go on to Just Dial, you can see 1,000 names there.
Yeah.
But that's a directory, right? How do I know which is the right name in that? How do I know are they those people who will actually take my goods properly and deliver it to me?
Mm.
Do we know them as an organization? So a lot of them being proprietary firms, some of them operating with no offense to anybody, some of them operating together in the same room and sharing the same numbers on Just Dial. So whose number comes, he picks up that phone, but they're all in the same place. No infrastructure, no trucking support, no crew really. All the roadside crew walks into your house, and it's it's very loosely held and loosely managed as a business. And I think that's the biggest pain area here. If you look at how many shipments get lost in transit, how many shipments don't get on time, and there is no way that you can hold them responsible because the person is not available at the destination. And he's least bothered on a Google review or any similar review because it doesn't matter. He comes with, today he's Rahul Pillai and company, tomorrow he could be Pillai and company, the third day it's Rahul and company or something like that, right? So it's so easy to have a new number and again advertise a Google AdWord. And so this is something that we're noticing and seeing, and I felt that most of us, and I say that with a lot of authority, have chosen the route wherein we will go to a corporate, sign up a contract. That corporate will have moves, and we'll handle those moves well. Or we're supposed to handle them well, and we will do that because the corporate would be big enough, right? To that they can muscle us and make sure that we give them good service. But I would say most of the people stay away from that private business. When if let's say you were to move today and ELI was not taking care of your movement, right? You still would want a reasonably decent company to come into your house to pack it and move it in the right way and deliver it in the right way.
Right.
And I think that's the space. I feel that that's the pain area. We rarely see people who are in that space in this industry. You could get it by chance. So, for example, you might have a friend next door, and you might just ask him, "Okay, whom did you move with?" And he gives your name, and experience was good. You take that, but if I were to ask you that, do you have a name where you say that, okay, this is one of those guys whom I need to call, who will take care of my movement within India or overseas? I think we don't have a name. Because I think we all have had pockets of influence only. So somebody might be doing, a 400 CR of business. Somebody could be doing 1 CR of business. Somebody could be doing 20 CR of business. But that's where it is in an industry of 16,000 crores, right? So that's the size of the business, and the rest, all of this business is lying with smaller players who have nothing to offer as value add. And I think that's where the story, I would say, was took birth, where I said that, okay, this is something which we need to solve, and find a solution for those customers who possibly are not really aligned with a corporate, but yet have to move. So be it the defense services, or be it any of those civil servants, or somebody who is with a corporate but his company only pays him an allowance to move. So to offer a reliable solution and be a value for money, and not just be a white glove service. And that's how hybrid was born, and that's why we here.
So just curious to understand one thing. So you say it's a 11,000 crore market, but all the players there,
16,000 crore.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So, but all the players are small players. I'm just trying to understand why the market is the way it is. Why there are not many organized players, and maybe the market is such that it is natural to have small players only. And now that you are taking an organized effort to solve it, have you seen any sort of product market fit that this can be done in a scalable way, in a bigger entity way, in a brand building way?
Correct. So just to answer that question, and it's an absolutely valid question. The word hybrid itself had, the essence of that word itself comes from the fact that we are actually offering two solutions to our customers, right? As I mentioned, my investors are Transworld International, which is a leading moving and relocation company headquartered in Bangalore, with a complete brick and mortar solution in 15 cities. So they typically have managed to secure corporate business and in this in this space, and have positioned themselves as a leading player with reasonably decent infrastructure. However, again, the same business is more a B2B centric business than a B2C business. And when we, when we started talking, one of the points which I did share with them was the business which is B2B is compared to, the B2C business is just 1/100th of, what we are seeing. So it's like a tip of an iceberg, if I were to put that in absolute words. Why it becomes painful for people is because, one, you don't build or you don't intend to build a brand. You choose to do, pockets of influence. So if you're in Delhi, then you might have a very small pocket in Delhi. Just stay there and operate in that place and do business in that particular area and not beyond that. But what you lose out in that is that you neither invest on your infrastructure, nor on your quality, nor on your technology, which is what you have to do if you have to do some good offerings to a customer and create value for money for them. So as I said, the word hybrid is because we have to focus on the B2C business, the direct consumer business, and the corporate business. So when transport comes into play, we actually have an exclusive licensing agreement with Transport where we will sell the products to the B2B customers of ours and overseas partners, wherein the expectation of the customer is to offer a white glove service, right? B2C is our product wherein we actually intend to go direct to the consumer and offer him solutions which are tech enabled, with no frills really, with a clear expectation that it's value for money for them. So, for example, what kind of crew comes into your house? How much time do I take to pack? What is my transit time? What do I do? In how many days will I get the shipment at the destination? What happens if I'm not able to do the delivery on time? Then how do I redress that mechanism? I think that's something which we are trying to build into our B2C product, which has not been the case in the market at all. And we feel that it's not that the customer is not waiting for it. The customer is waiting for it, but there is no solution in the market for that. The best solution that a moving company in my industry would end up saying is a galti ho gayi, or I'm sorry. These are two things which are easily said, and after that it is forgotten, or the phones are not picked up or not handled.
Right.
And I think that's what we want to solve. We're saying that we will take full ownership of our actions. From the time we have given you a proposal, to your move, to your delivery, and in an event we're coming up with something called a money back plan, where a customer actually could get it basis if we miss our commitment. Right? So this is something which is very new to the industry. The other things we to do is standardization of packing material, people, vehicle tracking, which is vehicle tracking is not limited to the vehicle, but your own shipment. So where you can actually get updates rather than continuously calling me and not taking your call. I think that's a very big problem. I've had cases where the people's wedding clothes didn't reach on time. So and a company chooses not to pick up phones. I'm not naming any company. I'm just giving you feedback on the experiences people have had, right? The complete shipment vanishing at a price because the rates that were offered were 1/4 of the real market pricing, but the gentleman goes along with the whole truck. So make sure that these experiences for a private customer are taken care of. We will utilize our infra of Transworld toward that, and also that we are building our own partner network of more than 100 partners at the moment, who would be trained through the complete process moving. Rather, this is a process which has already been initiated, and we've seen some amazing results. And those partners will are spread across the whole of length and breadth of India, which gives us some amazing coverage, and not limit us only to a metro-based company, because India is moving into tier 2s, and I see that as the future, and we're just preparing ourselves for that. So that's what we are intending to do.
Got it. So you said India is moving into tier two, and that's one of the recent trends that started after COVID. What are other similar trends that are happening in India? I think lot of relocations in India are happening because the jobs have become a little more volatile and people are switching jobs every 1 year, and that's a market factor that you cannot ignore. What else is happening?
So few things which is changing. So if you ask me 22 years back, moving was like a luxury. I used to see only people on a senior band only moving and companies only paying for that. Nobody else was being paid. But today, it could be anybody in the system, even with a blue collar job. If the organization is employee centric, they also have an allowance to take a moving allowance and move. And they also opt for that because they want to have a professional moving company. So the
Right.
trend I see today is that because of the disposable income that we have today, the kind of things that are inside the house, right, are much better than what it used to be there in last 20 years. So you have started collecting, I won't call it hoarding, but at least collecting good things. You like the good things in life, you want to acquire them, you acquire them, you don't want to lose them on a transfer, so you actually move them. That's where I see there is a space to have a professional moving company which will take care of this requirement, unlike in the past. So, be it your automobiles, be it your two-wheelers, and nothing, but at least Royal Enfield is something that is getting very common in
Hmm.
most households, right? Now you're moving from Hyderabad to Delhi. Well, you might, if you don't want to move anything, you'll have a small shipment and this along with it, or anything else that you want to carry. So
Right.
mobility is the future. It will happen. I think with the growth that India foresees the next 10 years, it's going to be pretty exciting. And we just want to participate in that growth that we think is going to happen in this country.
Hmm. So the other question I have is around the B2C business that you are building. So you spoke about involving technology. Probably you'll build a mobile app for this thing. And so B2C works in brand building. So eventually you'll have to build a brand, and that is how it works. Uh, but I'm just wondering, can you build a brand for a product like this, or for a service like this, which people use in every 2 years maybe? And I mean, that's also a very narrow segment of the population that you are targeting. How are you planning to
Right.
build a mobile app, maybe that is used once in every 2 years, and yeah.
So, well, again, a very, very valid point, because what you pointed out is very true. A movement most probably happens once in 2 years. It's rare that it happens in a year. Even if it happens in a year, the touch point is once in a year. So
Mm,
the cycle of this move. But if you look at the size of the market now, if you look at the Indian middle classes as a number, even if we consider it as to be 10% of 140 crores that we are, right, who can afford to take a moving services, that ends up to be 14 crores, right? So I'm just going by the very, very conservative number, and I'm not considering that we consider our middle class to be 30%. I consider that only to be 10% of the strata, and that 10% possibly is the 14 crore number. Now, if you extrapolate that and see what the number could be, and we actually take off half of that, considering they are business people, you still
mm,
have a huge number in the market. And that's why I said the size of the business is approximately 16,000 crores. Now, when you look at that size of a business, and you the biggest player at only 400 crores or 450 crores, that's the size of market that you're talking of. So even if your repeat is after a year or after 2 years, right,
mhm.
the neighbor would be moving. Someone else in that condo is going to move. And I think that's the biggest churn that we're going to see. So I don't see that becoming a challenge, but yes, we have certain additional portfolios that we're building up,
Mhm.
which has a closer touch point to the end user. It might be a little early for me to actually talk on that, but the brand will uh, will be very close to the end consumer in touch points. And I think that that's something that, so the question that you asked is something we also had in mind, that how could we get closer to a customer in a business cycle of 1.5 years or 2 years. And I think we have an answer for that, which I think we would reserve today. But that's something which you would see, and possibly if we connect again, I'd be more than happy to present. And as far as the B2C business and the brand goes and the technology goes, we again chose the route of a business acquisition. Again, a little preliminary too, because the press release for the same has not happened, but we have one of the largest AI-based tech moving solution company in India, with a clear intent that we would want to move faster and take this route, much quickly than what people think we want to do. So that's something that we have taken that route as well to cement our our next step for our B2C customers. So we had two routes to opt for when we started. One was to customize a technology product ourselves. We did make some headways there, but what we realized is that it would take us at least a year more to launch our service, and we really didn't want to do that. So the easiest way for us at that time, and I would say it was something which was more strategic for us, where we opted for this, and we have taken that route, where we are now collaborating and building the product. It's already in place in the market, and you should hear soon, definitely this month, if not. So I would say the B2C product would be out in the market as a brand this month.
Sure. My
So hybrid will sell two brands.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
Got it. So my final question. All these years of working at a venture where your job was almost entrepreneurial, and then building your own venture, being a full-time entrepreneur, what have you learned about entrepreneurship that we can take away and probably apply to our ventures? And this is my last question. With this, we will end the session.
Right. So Priya, the difference being that when you have worked like an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur are two very different things. So when you're like an entrepreneur, you are still not firing from your shoulder, right? You know that there is somebody backing you, behind you, which is a huge organization which supports you and takes you through. As an entrepreneur, you are calling the shots, you are firing from your shoulder, and you would become more accountable. And I think accountable to the fact that one of the biggest points that I told my team when we started off this venture was that, I'm not here into the valuation game of what revenues we bring in. I think I was never a ardent fan of that. I feel that the bottom line is going to be critical, and we'll talk about the bottom line. So this, so that's the biggest difference. So if I used to hear Rakesh Jhunjhunwala very closely, and I used to take his tips when he used to say that he hasn't ever invested in a startup only because it's a valuation game and not really the bottom line. So for me, as an entrepreneur, I would say that the biggest change I want to bring, at least from in our organization, would be that we want to be a sustainable, viable organization, just not on valuation, but by making profits. And I think that is the way we think we would make it sustainable, and that's the model I would want to run in, and that's what I would consider as a very important ingredient, in success, because valuations are we have at least seen in our last 7 to 8 years, the game of valuation is amazing. You become $1 billion, possibly $1 trillion as well, with losses mounting to whatever. Our game wouldn't be that, and that's what I would tell the younger generation, that it's ideation should also mean that what is the sustainable, and whoever comes to, I've always spoken how sustainable is this? Are you playing with someone else's money, just because it's available and not making profits? Or you're just saying, I acquired 1 million customers, but even after acquiring 1 million customers, if you can't make money, then you better not do business. That's my thought. I may be totally wrong, but this is my belief, and I strongly believe in it.
Got it. Yeah, that's probably true, because these days, after the funding winter and all, a lot of startups are looking towards profitability, and that's why market is also designed in such a way that only profitable startups get to do IPO, because yeah,
Correct.
that's the final thing that decides which startups do good business and which are not.
Absolutely.
Well, on this note, we have come to the end of the session. Thanks for joining us, Rahul. It was a pleasure to have you on our platform
Thank you.
and hearing to your journey and your story of building this venture. Our best wishes for our every shifting solutions.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Priya. Thanks for having me here. Pleasure connecting with you, and I enjoyed the conversation as well as some very specific questions, very pertinent ones, which we have been putting in our business case study as well. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you, Rahul. Have a
Have a
good
good
day.
day.